Hey everybody, we're here today to talk about analysis, synthesis, and thesis, and really we're going to be focusing on synthesis because that is the major skill or concept that we're focusing on for this unit. So synthesis, the basic definition, is a combination or composition in particular. The combination of ideas to form a theory or a system, noun synthesis, plural noun syntheses. The synthesis of intellect and emotion in his work is the example that the dictionary gives. So, how does it work? Well, synthesis allows you, the writer, to combine evidence from multiple sources into one argument. To make sure the reader can follow your argument, make sure that you clearly analyze each piece of evidence, explain what it means, and then clearly explain how the separate pieces of evidence work together to support your overall argument. Now, this is something you actually have already done in essay number 1. A lot of you used really good personal examples as evidence to show why the podcast was or was not persuasive. And that's the basic idea of what you're going to do here as well. You're going to take one source, look at its argument, position, or some of its features, compare that to another source, analyze both, and then come to a third conclusion or a third argument, and that's going to be the synthesis. So the way it works, if we're any mathematical-minded students here, we can do evidence plus analysis, and then add that to evidence plus analysis, you equal synthesis. And if you do synthesis, analyze your synthesis, and explain all of it, you have an argument. So this is all sort of a complicated way of saying sometimes you write an essay about more than one source. Here's the basic premise in sort of a goofy example. The first thing to analyze, coffee. So here's the first thing, and I put it in blue, and then in red, I've analyzed some of its features. Well, coffee is a drink, it's hot, it has caffeine, and it tastes bitter by itself. Here's the second thing that's related but not the same. Cream, and that's in sort of an orange color. It's flavored cream, it's cold usually, or at least I hope so, otherwise you might get sick. It tastes sweet, and it's too thick to drink by itself. I'm sure you might have a friend who at one time drank straight from the creamer, but that's pretty gross. But the point here is that I have these two separate things that obviously I'm going to end up combining, but before I do that, I go through and I analyze each on its own. Now, of course, comes the fun part. You put them both together, and you get coffee with cream. Now, this is still a drink. It's not quite as hot as it used to be. It still has caffeine, but now it tastes sweet. So this is now sort of a third thing that is a combination of the first two. Here's a way you can use this exact example in an argument. So here's my first sort of piece of this. Eduardo is tired in the morning, so he wants some caffeine. However, the coffee is bitter, and so he doesn't like it. So I did a little analysis there. I said he doesn't like it because it's bitter. Now, using creamer, Eduardo sweetens his coffee, and now it tastes good, and it still has lots of caffeine. So far, this is looking pretty good for Eduardo. And what you'll notice is that I'm basically taking that synthesis that I did before and applying it to something. Unfortunately, the sweetened coffee tasted so good that Eduardo drank 10 cups in 2 hours. Soon he flew into a caffeinated rage at work and flipped over his desk, or flipped his desk over as I wrote it for some reason. And of course, that's not something anyone wants to see. So now I'm going to turn this all into a new thesis statement. My synthesized thesis is adding sweet creamer to coffee is beneficial in the short term because Eduardo liked it, but it can lead to unintended consequences like losing your mind and flipping over your desk. So this is obviously kind of a dumb example, but it really takes you through the steps of how synthesis works. And like I said, in a way, you've already done this on essay 1. It's just that on essay 2, I'm going to ask you to do it in a slightly more complicated, slightly more challenging way. So with this one, you're going to make an argument about Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, but your evidence for your argument is going to be a blend of quotes from the novel, paraphrase from the podcast Juice Verbose, and quotes from a review of the novel. You're going to use all those sources of information to then make your claim, make your thesis. So that's what synthesis is all about. It's combining multiple sources into one argument, and we're going to be working on this and practicing it as the week goes on. Have a good one, everybody.